This is Algebra 2, Lesson 6.3, adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. That's what we're doing today. We're adding, subtracting, and multiplying things with more than one number. Okay, what we have is 2x to the third minus 3x squared plus 7x minus 5. Notice the exponents count down from the highest degree, 3, to the one that has no x value at the end. 3, then 2, then 1, then none. Plus 3x to the third plus 2x squared minus 3x. This is adding them vertically. What you want to do is you want to make sure all of the same exponents are stacked on top of each other, even if they're written in a different order at the beginning of the problem. So what that means is make sure x to the third is on top of x to the third, x squared is on top of x squared, and x to the first is on top of x to the first. When you add 2x squared and 3x squared, all you have to add is 2 and 3. This was like the bell work we just did. You get 5x to the third. When you add negative 3x squared and positive 2x squared, negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1x squared. Again, notice you're not changing the x squareds and making it x to the fourth. 7x and negative 3x is like subtracting 7 minus 3, you get 4x. And then negative 5 plus nothing is going to stay negative 5. That's adding them vertically. This is adding them horizontally. What you do is you do it this way. X to the third plus negative 6x to the third. Notice they're written right next to each other on the next line. The next one, 6x, there is no, if you look in the first trinomial, there is no x squared. So you still have to represent the x squared if it's up there. There's none in that one, but there is one here. So positive or plus 2x squared comes next. Then if you go back to the first one, there's 6x squared plus, again, negative 9x squared. 6x plus negative 9x is the same thing as 6 minus 9x, and that's why it's written like that, minus 9x. And then the constant terms, 4 plus negative 2, again, is the same thing as 4 minus 2. Then just combine all your like terms. X to the third minus 6x to the third. That's just like saying 1 minus 6 is going to be negative 5x to the third. There's only one x squared, so plus 2x squared. Then put 6x and negative 9x together, you get negative 3x. And then put 4 and negative 2 together, you get positive 2. So that's adding them horizontally right there. Negative 5x to the third plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 2. Okay. Adding is really simple. So is subtracting. This is subtracting. What you have to understand when you're subtracting is you're doing the opposite of everything you see for the second one. Notice the way it's written on the right over there. Let's go up a little bit. Notice the way it's written on the right. Negative 5x to the third minus minus x squared plus x minus 6. You have to distribute this negative 1 to everything. Or just change all of their signs. Notice it says negative 5x to the third. When you do negative times a negative, it's positive x squared. Negative 1 times x is going to be minus x, and negative 1 times negative 6, again, positive. You're doing the opposite of all of them. When you put all of those together, then just subtract them, just combine them like we did a minute ago. 7x to the third minus 5x to the third is 2x to the third. 4x squared plus this 1 that's not shown right here. If you need to put it in, put it. 4 plus 1 is 5x squared. Negative x minus x is negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2x. And then negative 4 plus 6 is positive 2. Again, that is subtracting them vertically. When you subtract horizontally, you're going to do the same thing. But again, make sure you're subtracting this positive right here. So 3x to the fourth minus 2x to the fourth. And all that did on this line here, the way they have it written on this blank, is they just changed all of the signs. They changed positive 2x to the fourth. They changed positive 6x to the third, positive 2x, and then negative 4. Notice all of the signs change. So when you combine all of those like terms, 3x to the fourth can combine with negative 2x to the fourth. 3 minus 2 is 1x to the fourth. 9x to the third can combine with negative 6x to the third. We're just combining like terms. 9 minus 6 is 3x to the third. There's no x to the first power in the first polynomial. There's only one right here, negative 2x. Notice it's written by itself, negative 2x. And then the last one is 2, and 4 combined is positive 6. So x to the fourth plus 3x cubed minus 2x plus 6. Put them all together. These are very, very tedious, but they are very, very easy problems to do. Very, very easy problems. There's a lot of chance for you to make a mistake by missing a negative or putting one where it doesn't belong. So make sure you pay attention. And for those of y'all that are sloppy handwriting folks, be less sloppy during this lesson. You'll have a better chance at being successful. Example number 3 is multiplying polynomials vertically. We know how to multiply. If we had simple numbers like 233 times 4, we would know to multiply 4 times 3 and get 12 and carry 1, 4 times 3 again and get 12 and add that 1 and get 13 and carry another one, and then 4 times 2 and get 8 plus that 1 and get 9. So we get 932 in that case. Okay, we're doing the same thing here, except instead of just having a number like times 4, now we have one term, 2 terms that we got to multiply. So we got to make sure to do both of them. Start off with one of them. So 2 times 3, just do just like you normally do, you get 6. 2 times negative x. Don't forget there's a negative there. You get negative 2x. And 2 times x squared is 2x squared. Notice we didn't do anything with the exponents. Then do the same thing and multiply this time. Multiply the other one. Multiply, in this case, the other one is x times 3 is 3x. X times negative x. Now you have exponents that you have to deal with. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. X times x, you're going to add the exponents 1 and 1 to get x squared. And then x times x squared, you add the exponents again, 2 plus 1 to get x to the third. Notice how they're all written. This was your placeholder spot right here. Normally some people would write a 0 in right there. Then you add the polynomial. Simply add straight down. 6 plus 0 is 6. Negative 2x plus 3x is 1x. That's why it says positive x. 2x squared minus 1x squared. 2 minus 1 is 1x squared. And then there's 1x to the third power. So there it is combined. X to the third plus x squared plus x plus 6. Most people do not multiply polynomials like this. This is just showing you another method if you prefer to do it this way. Most people multiply polynomials this way, horizontally, because this is how we FOIL, and this is how we learned how to distribute, like on the bell work, 2 times x minus 3. You knew to do that and to do that. Most people will feel more comfortable doing it this way. What you have to do, though, is you have to make sure not just to with FOIL, it's easy. You do the F, you do the O, you do the I, and you do the L, the first, the outer, the inner, and the last. With this one, though, you have to make sure to multiply both terms, in this case, the x and the negative 2, by everything inside of the trinomial, or everything in the second set of parentheses. So for the first one, x minus 2 times 3x squared, what it's doing is it's separating the trinomial for you. So the first one's just coming straight down, 3x squared. The next one's just saying negative x. But notice it just puts the negative up front, minus, and then x minus 2 times x. Don't let that confuse you. And then the last one is 5. It's bringing that one down, plus 5. So then just distribute each one of those times. 3x squared times x. It's going to be 3x to the third. This is just distributing. 3x squared times x is 3x to the third. 3x squared times negative 2 is negative 6x squared. Remember, you distribute going backwards too. X times x is x squared. Don't forget there's a negative here, so negative x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. And then again, don't forget there's a negative right there. It becomes positive 2x. That'll be the most confusing part. 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times 2, negative 2 is negative 10. Then just combine all your like terms that you can. You can combine negative 6x squared and negative x squared. That'll give you negative 7x squared. And combine 2x and 5x to get positive 7x. So 3x cubed minus 7x squared plus 7x minus 10. In fact, I think doing this backwards is actually probably a little bit harder. It's probably easier just because we all think left to right instead of right to left by doing it this way instead. But you can go forwards and backwards. It's just showing the rules of multiplication. Just multiply x times 3x squared. That's going to be 3x to the fourth. Then multiply x times negative x. That's negative x. You got to add 1 and 1 to get x squared. Set to the fourth. I'm not sure why. Should be to the third, excuse me. Then multiply x times 5 and get 5x. Okay, that was doing all of the x's. Now do the same thing with negative 2. Negative 2 times 3x squared is negative 6x squared. Negative 2 times negative x. A negative times a negative is a positive 2x. And negative 2 times 10 is negative times 5 is negative 10. Then just combine your like terms. Notice we didn't go backwards with anything here. There's only one x to the third, 3x to the third. Negative x squared and negative 6x squared is you're putting them together, a negative and a negative. You're not multiplying them. So that's just like negative 1 minus 6, which is negative 7x squared. Then 5x and 2x is positive 7x. And then the last thing is negative 10. Notice, I think that's much, much simpler than the backwards order they show you here. But if the backwards order works, if that's easier for you, use that. It's just showing you that there's two different ways to do it. Okay, multiplying polynomials when there are three binomials. What you're going to do is you're going to multiply, you're going to FOIL one, or you're going to FOIL two of them, this one and this one in this case, and then multiply it by the last one, x minus 3. So when you FOIL it, remember, all FOILing is a way to remember what order to multiply it in. X times x is x squared. So you get x squared. O is x times, not too far, negative 1 is negative x. Inside is 2 times x is plus 2x. And last is 2 times negative 1 minus 2. When you combine this term and this term, you get x squared. Negative 1x plus 2x is plus 1x minus 2. Notice that's the same thing that we have right here. X squared plus x minus 2. Then just make sure, just like on example number 4, then just make sure to multiply each term, x and minus 3, x and minus 3, by everything inside of the trinomial. So x times x squared is going to give you x to the third. X times x is going to give you x squared. And x times negative 2 is negative 2x. So that's the first part. Then do the same thing with negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. And that's what it's showing you here. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x, and negative 3 times negative 2, and negative times a negative is a positive 6. So you have a lot of terms. Again, this is the thing about polynomials. You get great big long numbers. A lot of opportunities to make mistakes if you're not true with your arithmetic. But it's very, very easy if you can keep everything organized. Because notice none of the numbers are exceptionally big or challenging. It's just the fact that there's a big volume of them that makes them hard. Then combine your like terms. There's only one x to the third, so leave it as x to the third. Combine x squared and negative 3x squared. So that's 1 minus 3 is negative 2x squared. Combine negative 2x and negative 3x. That's negative 5x. And then there's only one constant term, plus 6. And you cannot add exponents. You cannot add variable terms that have different numbered exponents, like 3 and 2 and stuff like that, because it's just like trying to add 2x plus 3y. You can't do it because they're not like terms. Okay, here are special product patterns, sum and difference. A plus b times a minus b. When you FOIL that, you're going to get a squared minus b squared. If you do it out, you'll get to it anyways. Like if you just went ahead and FOILed x times x, you get x squared. X times negative 3, you're going to get minus 3x. 3 times x, you're going to get plus 3x. And 3 times negative 3, you're going to get minus 9. It eliminates the two middle numbers. It eliminates the two middle terms. And it just shortens this for you. That's why it's called special product patterns. Anytime you have the sum and the difference of two polynomials, or two binomials in this case, multiplying by each other, just take the two middle ones out. X squared times the two last ones, and just make it negative. When you're squaring a binomial like a plus b squared, it's going to be a squared plus 2 times ab plus b squared. So right here, y plus 4 squared is going to be y squared plus 2 times 4, so it's 8 squared, plus b squared in this case is 4, which is 16. Again, these are just shortcuts. If these are hard for you to think of and hard for you to remember, do it the long way and you won't mess up. Same thing with that one right there. 3t squared minus 9. It's going to be a squared. So 3 squared and t squared. 3 times 3 is 9. T squared is going to be t to the 4th. And it's going to be 2 times the middle, or 2 times a times b. So both of them, a and 3. A is 3, b is negative 2. You're going to get negative 12t squared. And then it's b squared, negative 2 squared. Negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 4. The cube of a binomial, a plus b to the third, or x plus 1 to the third, is a to the third plus 3a. Nobody's ever going to remember this one, so don't worry about this last one. If you do remember the cube of a binomial and you want to make it be a shortcut to you, then use it. But the one that you'll use more often than anything will be this one right here, everybody. You'll just eliminate the middle 2 terms and save yourself some work. Then these are using special patterns, okay? Multiply the polynomials. 3z plus 4 times 3z minus 4. So 3z squared. 3 squared is 9. Z squared is z squared. And negative 4 times 2 is minus 4 squared is 16. The same thing with this one. In fact, we're going to go to the next one. That's how much I think y'all going to use that stuff. Okay, adding these. Negative 3x squared plus 3x minus 7 plus x squared. Negative 3x squared plus 1x squared is negative 2x squared. 3x plus negative 9x is the same thing as 3 minus 9, negative 6x. Negative 7 plus 5. Negative 7 plus 5 is minus 2. Here's your binomial added together, or your polynomials added together. Negative 2x squared minus 6x minus 2. Okay, you're subtracting. So just think of subtracting. 6x cubed minus 2x cubed. 6 minus 2 is 4x cubed. X squared minus, there is no x squared on the right, so just write plus x squared. Notice there is no x to the first power on the left, so just do minus negative 6x. Minus a negative means plus 6x. That'll be where you'll make your mistake right there. You'll put minus 6x instead of plus. It's minus a negative. We know that means plus. And then the last one's the constant. 1 minus 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. There's your polynomial subtracted. Okay, here's multiplying 3 binomials. Do the first two. X times x is x squared. X times 1 is plus x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 1 is minus 3. So when we put those two like terms together, x and negative 3x, we're left with x squared minus 1 minus 3 is going to be negative 2x minus 3. We created this trinomial, and we still have to bring this one down. X plus 7. Then just distribute. X times x squared, you add the exponents, x to the third. X times negative 2x is negative 2. X to the 1 plus 1 is going to be x squared. And x times negative 3 is negative 3x. Do the same thing with the 7. 7 times x squared is plus 7x squared. 7 times negative 2x is negative 14x. And 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. Once you do that, just combine your like terms. Notice there's only one x to the third power, so just put it by itself. Negative 2x squared plus 7x squared. Negative 2 plus 7 is positive 5x squared. Negative 3x minus 14x. Negative 3 minus 14 is negative 17x. And then there's only one constant term, negative 21. Here's your polynomial when you multiply three binomials. Just make sure to multiply every term by every other term. And the last one says to multiply 2w minus 3 squared. 2w minus 3 squaring is the same thing as 2w minus 3 times 2w minus 3. You can use the shortcut, or if you don't like the shortcut, multiply the first two terms. 2 times 2 is 4. W times w is w squared. The outer two terms, 2w times negative 3 is negative 6w. The inner terms, negative 3 times 2w is negative 6w. And then the last terms, negative 3 times negative 3, and negative times a negative is a positive. Notice we can put a couple things together. 4w squared is by itself. Negative 6w minus 6w can be put together. Negative 12w, and there's only one constant term, plus 9.